Cinematic.
It's one of the most recklessly thrown around words on YouTube and social media right now. Heaps of how-tos and gear reviews about making your shots cinematic. But nobody wants to define what it actually means. Most people think it means looks like a movie. But to me, it's not just about the look, it's about the structure. In this video, I'll define how the structure of my work makes it cinematic, not just the look. I use two defined styles of structure, and I'll even show you the recipe. Sure, the meaning is subjective, but you can't have the word cinematic without cinema. And it takes more than a G-master to make a movie. You have to have an imagination and an obsession for film. Music and video. The structure is the word. Cinema is the marriage of sound and visuals. When they work together intentionally, that is cinematic. Some may ask, what about silent film? In today's context, we're used to sound and music in film, but the absence of those would actually be saying something. But without intentional story, most images alone are not cinematic, which tells us that structure brings objectivity to what is cinematic. There's a tonal and visual language. You know it when you see it. When you speak the language of cinema, you communicate intentionally to the viewer. I wasn't a cinematic master out the gate. I had to learn all this, and I got my start in performance-based music videos. Nobody ever really taught me how to do them, so I just did what seemed right. Stack performance takes, cut out the mistakes, and fill in the gaps with B-roll. It has its place, but it's not intentional storytelling. My strongest skill has always been my writing. Understanding characters' wants and needs, what's worth fighting for, discover their deepest, darkest secrets, forcing them to make conscious choices, advancing the plot, and begin to unravel it like one of those loose threads on a shirt. Pull it too tight, then the fabric begins to break apart slowly, changing the physical makeup of its structure. And that's cinema, baby. If you follow this channel, then you know that providing value to the supporters is what's most important in my process. To execute a defined cinematic structure is to respect the audience. There's two effective methods to tell a story in cinematic music video format: narrative-driven and performance-integrated. Narrative-driven music videos are for the real storytellers. They're like a video game story. There is no performance of the lyrics, and the song might fade out altogether to implement dialogue.
She get hers and I get mine, and she always stay defined.
So what's in it?
I don't need you to know what's in it. I just need you to sell it. The point of making a cinematic music video narrative-driven is to take the focus away from the artist and place it on the story. An example of this is my music video short film, Play Ball. Theoretically, Play Ball is a music video, but it can also be considered a legit short film. I even submitted to multiple film festivals. I guess technically it's a musical, but in reverse. Most of the story is a song that breaks into shorter parts of dialogue. The best way I can describe the tone is it's similar to a live-action Grand Theft Auto quest line. There's no performance parts to cut back to, so every single frame is part of the story. Each shot means something, so you have to write with intention. It's not easy to make a music video into a movie. You have to have a burning passion to tell your story. And the one thing I've heard most of my favorite directors all say is, you have to be obsessed. At this point in my journey, I've been yearning to write and direct my own film. I've been creating worlds musically for a long time, and I wanted to bring my stories to life cinematically. I feverishly watch YouTube on directors, writers, and movies, making lists of stories I need to sit down and watch. I also read every day. One of the best ways to learn to write a story is to read stories. Reading fiction to start my day allows my brain to get into a creative flow state. Lastly, one of the biggest influences on my creativity are video games. Video games host some of the greatest stories ever told. The video game industry is larger than the music and movie industries combined. As millennials, most of us learn to understand storytelling in our formative years through gaming. So remember, narrative-driven means the overall theme of the song is the main focus. And I find this to be one of the most powerful creative tools in the world of transformative art. Performance-integrated structure is where the artist performs the lyrics directly to the viewer. The trick with this is knowing when the artist should acknowledge the camera within the cinematic world they're living in. There's certain rules to live by, but I'm not gonna lie, it takes intuition to do this effectively. This method suits hip-hop artists because an MC is a message deliverer. A good example of this method is the cinematic music video I wrote and directed for D. Shaw's song QP of Cracklins. In this video, we developed a storyline that required character acting as well as performing the lyrics. Sometimes the artist is rapping without acknowledging the camera, but other times directly addressing the viewer. And it was all up to me to direct this. For this particular song, I diagnosed the inverse relationships between the verses and the hooks. The underlying theme was work and reward. I knew most of the picture was going to need to be painted within the verses. This is where the story beats were going to live. I only had 2.5 minutes to tell this story, so each story beat needed to be intentionally placed. The verses were about the artist riding around in the car, going to collect and dealing with the obstacles that come with this lifestyle. When the artist was in the car or collecting, the focus was forward, so I felt the artist should be looking forward when performing these lyrics. But whenever that motion was stopped by an obstacle, I felt the artist needed to address the camera, almost as if it was an appropriate time to reflect on the theme of the verses. The same goes for the hooks, because the job was done. The motion had stopped, and it was time to reflect on the rewards of this lifestyle. It's important to understand what the song is trying to say, and how the message applies to the story you're telling. For me personally, it helps that I'm a hip-hop artist myself. I understand the plight of an artist. I understand our values, and I know the feelings within. You don't necessarily have to be an artist to direct this type of project, but you have to have an empathy and understanding for the art of hip-hop itself. It's much easier for me to analyze this after the fact because during the shoot, you just have to feel when the time is right. The intuition of the director is important because artists and actors are looking to you to know what to do and when to do it. You know, some people will argue, it's not that deep. You don't need a well-structured story to make something feel cinematic. And maybe that's true. But for me personally, I'm in the stage of my creative journey where I want to be transformative with my creativity. I want my art to provide messaging that can be carried on to transform the art that it affects, and so on and so on. It's not a matter of how deep art is. What's important to me is I'm a small part in something greater than myself. I've been transformed by artists that influence me, and I owe it to them to continue on this sacred tradition. They live on through me, and I can live on through the next artist. And that's cinema, baby. If you want to support D. Shaw's QP of Cracklins, then click right here. If you want to see more of my work, then click the music video playlist as well. And if you want to see more videos just like this, then let me know below in the comments. It's Jed the Sloth, the original play ball. See the vision, be the vision. And I'll see you in the next one.